everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Breast Cancer Physio. I'm your host Jen McKenzie, lymphedema physiotherapist and ESSA accredited exercise physiologist. In this episode I want to talk about the guidelines around compression garments when flying. The reason I wanted to do this video, of course, is because the situation with the pandemic has started to change. Particularly in Australia, there are international flights opening up again and interstate flights opening up. So we are going to see a lot more people travelling by plane, and that's going to require some increased awareness around compression garments for those at risk of lymphedema. So if you enjoy this content and you would like to see more, then please subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Give this video a big thumbs up and leave a comment in the section below if you have any questions around flying and compression garments. I'd like to start this video though by saying that the guidelines provided are very much guidelines. There hasn't been a lot of research done around compression garments, flying and risk of lymphedema, but at the end of the day we do know a lot about how the lymphatic system works. And what I'm going to tell you in this video is based a lot on the anatomy and physiology of the lymphatic system, as well as other things we've learnt about the lymphatic system and lymphedema over the last 10 to 15 years. So first and foremost, let's talk about why you should be wearing compression on an aeroplane if you're at risk of lymphedema or if you have existing lymphedema. The problem with the lymphatic system is that it doesn't really have a major pump. So what we mean by this is if you cut an artery, it will spurt blood, and that's because the pumping mechanism of the heart is behind the arterial system. So there's a very strong pump behind the arterial system that forces that blood through. In comparison, if you cut a lymphatic vessel, it will trickle because there's no major pump behind the lymphatic system. So therein lies the problem that the lymphatic system is heavily reliant on muscle contraction, movement, gravity to push that lymphatic fluid around. Hence why these days we advocate exercise to prevent lymphedema and manage lymphedema, but we also advise compression garments because compression garments enhance the effect of the lymphatic system pump. So when you are on a plane, you're not doing very much movement, particularly the longer the flight, the less movement you're likely to do. So when we talk about why you should be using compression if you're at risk of lymphedema, it's because of this reason. It's because flying is generally a pretty stagnant activity. You'll be sitting down, you won't be moving that much, and with that lack of movement comes a lack of lymphatic flow. So that's the main reason I believe that we should be advising compression garments on a plane. So what length of flight are we advising you to start wearing compression garments? The guideline is 4 hours. So if you're going on a trip in a plane that is anything less than 4 hours, that's where you can make a personal decision as to whether you want to wear compression or not. If you are on a flight that is 4 hours in length or longer, it is advised to wear compression. If you have existing lymphedema, I would advise that you would already have compression on regardless of whether the flight is 4 hours or less. Because of the stagnancy of the activity, even a couple of hours, meaning 2 or more hours in a situation where you have existing lymphedema, you could see your arms swelling if you've taken your compression garments off. Again, this is a very individual situation, so really you need to know how your lymphedema behaves if you're going to play around with how much time you have your compression sleeve off for. Now, interestingly, some of the flights within Australia, although not international but interstate, are still over 4 hours in length just because of the width of the country. So even if you're only travelling interstate, you may still find that you are advised to wear a compression sleeve. The old guidelines used to state compression sleeves for long haul flights only, but it is now advised that anything in 4 hours or longer, you should be wearing a compression sleeve. A few things to consider around wearing the compression garment. If you are in a car travelling to or from an airport, so you're in transit essentially to the airport, if the drive to or from the airport is a considerable amount of time in a car, say for half an hour or more, you may actually want to consider putting your compression sleeve on for that trip to the airport or home from the airport. The reason I say this is because accumulated time spent not doing much physical movement or activity could actually lead to an increased risk of that lymph swelling if you're at risk of lymphedema or if you already have existing lymphedema. So just consider the transit time. One of the most common questions that I get asked in my clinic is how long after a flight should I continue to wear my compression sleeve? I think again this is a bit of a contextual personal situation, but just consider that often when people are getting off a plane, they might be hopping straight into a car and going on quite a long car ride before they arrive at their destination. And if you're sitting still in a car, particularly if you're a passenger, so you don't have your hands on the steering wheel and are at least moving around, then I would consider continuing to wear your sleeve until you at least arrive at your destination. Another little trick when you're traveling and you need a compression sleeve is to make sure that you've actually got the equipment to get the sleeve on and off if you require it. So I'll just put a link to another video that I've done previously about how to put on and take off compression sleeves, but also how to care for them. So if you're traveling with the sleeve, you may want to make sure that you've got liquid detergent where you're heading to. You may want to make sure you've got a delicates bag that you can place the compression sleeve into if you're going to put it into a washing machine. So just be a little bit prepared for when you arrive at your destination that you've got the equipment that you need, but also the washing facilities that you're required to keep the sleeve clean. I won't go into the details around how to wash and wear a compression sleeve or how to don and doff one in this video because, as I mentioned before, the link to the video just a moment ago covers all of that information. Other things that you can be doing on a flight that can help reduce your risk of lymphedema are things like getting up on a semi-regular basis to go for a walk around the aeroplane. Just this general movement can start your lymphatic system flowing again, and you don't have to be walking for a terribly long time, but just the frequency with which you're moving your body is a very good thing to consider. Similarly, if you want to be remaining in your seat for some time, then another really easy thing you can do is to move the limb. So you can sit and extend and straighten, So in your seat, you can be bending and straightening at the elbow, you can be opening and closing your fingers, you can be rolling your wrist around, you can do some shoulder shrugs, you can move your neck sideways. There's a lot of movement you can be doing with that limb. If you happen to be sitting on the window seat, you may even want to elevate your arm if you can support it against the side of the aeroplane for 15 minutes or so. Gravity has an effect on the lymphatic system and that will help drain any excess fluid in that limb down towards the centre of your body, which is a positive thing when it comes to lymphedema. If you have the ability to take some moisturiser cream on the flight with you, you may also be able to perform some basic self-lymphatic drainage massage. You may need a singlet top to be able to perform this, so just keep in mind that your ability to perform self-lymphatic drainage massage on an aeroplane is probably going to be dependent on what type of shirt you are wearing, so just keep that in mind if you're planning on doing some self-lymphatic drainage massage on the aeroplane. Let's just talk about what type of compression sleeve we are referring to in the prescription of compression garments when it comes to flying. In an ideal world, you would actually have a lymphedema physiotherapist, physical therapist, occupational therapist, or a nurse that is lymphedema trained prescribing the sleeve for you before you fly. Generally speaking, in my clinic, if I have someone who is only at risk of lymphedema, so they don't have lymphedema, they're just at risk, and they're going on a flight that's 4 hours or more, and I'm prescribing them a compression sleeve just for that aeroplane flight, then I'm going to prescribe them a sleeve that looks like this. This is a compression class 2 circular knit sleeve. It has a grip top on the top here that you can see, and it is a sleeve that covers the hand and a little bit of the thumb. The reason I tend to prescribe a sleeve like this is because it's not very taxing to wear compared to some of the thicker fabrics that are available, and it's a generally easy sleeve for you to just wear for a flight. Interestingly, I can say that I have found people who haven't worn the sleeve in the lead up to the flight can sometimes have problems when they're on the flight of suddenly have to wear that sleeve for 4 hours or even 15 hours if they're on a really long haul flight. So it's a really good idea to break the sleeve in. Just like wearing a new pair of shoes, it's a really good idea to spend half an hour here, an hour, 2 hours, or even longer, or building up to the length of time that you're going to wear that sleeve on the flight. What we don't want is a situation where the new compression sleeve that's being worn for the first time, potentially on a long haul flight, starts to cause things like pins and needles or numbness in your fingers or thumb, pain in a particular area, swelling of any body part on the limb, or generally just feels too tight and restrictive. If you're getting any of those symptoms, it's much safer that you don't continue to wear that sleeve despite the fact that you're on the flight. You're going to be better off taking the garment off and continuing to move the limb, elevate the limb, do some walking, see if you can get some self-lymphatic drainage going while you're on the flight. Because an ill-fitting sleeve is way more dangerous to continue wearing compared to no sleeve at all. And that's probably one of the most important points of this video. And that's a general rule of thumb regardless of whether you're on a plane or not. If you've got a badly fitting compression sleeve, it can be detrimental to your lymphatic system and lymphedema that's existing or lymphedema you're at risk of. So following the flight, my best piece of advice is that once that sleeve is removed, you just continue to monitor your arm for signs and symptoms of lymphedema over the next 24 to 48 hours. Generally speaking, people who have been at risk of lymphedema for a little while or who have existing lymphedema are relatively aware of how their affected arm feels. If you're not sure what the signs and symptoms of lymphedema are, you can go and check out one of my earliest videos here, which is signs and symptoms of breast cancer related lymphedema. So just continue to watch out for any changes in the arm that you're not sure of, and if you're suspicious, you may actually just want to pop your compression sleeve back on for 1 to 2 days and then see if those symptoms settle down. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you've gained some really great information about compression garments when it comes to flying. I hope everyone's looking forward to getting back to international travel and interstate travel in the new year. I hope you're having a great week wherever you are. I'm Jen McKenzie, the Breast Cancer Physio, and I'll see you next time.